Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to LinkedIn Live with Sell Beyond. Today, we are really excited to be talking about the finance perspective of pay-per-click, and I have our guest, Phil Revitt, to talk to us about that. Let me introduce us both. My name is Dr. Eloise Finch. I'm founder of Sell Beyond. We're a profit-first Amazon management consultancy based on the Suffolk-Essex border in beautiful Constable Country. Today with us is Phil Revitt, who runs pay-per-click and does finance advice as part of the Sell Beyond team. Phil, really great to have you on board today.
Thanks, Eloise.
Would you mind by telling the audience a little bit more about yourself and your background in finance management?
Yeah, sure. Where do you start? So, I started my career in engineering. I spent 17 years in engineering, did quite well at that, and worked my way up into the management arena. Got out at a time when things were changing rapidly in that particular market that I was in, and moved on to do an element of sales. So I went into sales for 12 months, but then found my calling, which was becoming an IFA. Love finance, I love numbers. It's a big thing that's always been with me since childhood, I believe. I've always thought, I want to learn more about money. That was the thing. I wanted to understand what money is and how it all worked. And so I joined a company called Abbey Life. Those of you who've been around a while would probably remember Abbey Life. I went through my FPC management certifications. I got all my certificates and then left Abbey Life and became an IFA. So I was now IFA, went into being independent, had some good clients, but found that I really enjoyed the property side of things. So I looked into property, started doing mortgages, obviously life insurance and associated products and trusts along the side of that, and became quite good at that. Got so interested in property, I started buying and selling property through people that, I learned a lot along the way through various people that I knew. Also, I ended up with a portfolio of properties, so renting them out and so on and so forth. Got to a point then where I learned so much that I wasn't happy with money per se. Not going to go into it in great depth on this call, but I decided I wanted to come out of that. And a friend of mine, ironically enough, was having trouble with his business and said, "Look, Phil, got a problem with business at the moment. It's not making any money. Could you have a look at the accounts for me?" I said, "Yeah, sure. I'll have a look at the accounts." Not really going to tell me a lot because they're just made up accounts from the accountant who's going to make them look however he wants them to make them look. Anyone that's an accountant will understand what I mean. And I had a look at them and said, "Look, can't really make head and tail out of this of where you're actually losing your money. Exactly. I just need to see the processes that you're using and how it all works." She says, "Well, I'll happily employ your time if you want to come and be."
You ended up as a general manager of a business, did you?
Yeah, so I ended up managing his business for 5 years, and which was an interesting learning curve. Obviously, I knew the finance side of things, so I ended up then running his business or managing his business, so to speak. And the first thing I did said, "Okay, well, let's have a look at, what are your costs? What are you charging for your services and your products? Have you got a list?" And he said, "No, it's in my head." So what? It's all in your head. I mean, it's got a great brain, but just for me, he's really got, he knows his numbers, holds data, tremendously well in his head. So he can recall things from years ago in terms of numbers.
So you helped him with that. And how did you lead on to Amazon?
Right. So
Amazon.
Yeah. So from there, I went from there. At the end of that, I went back into financial services temporarily for about 18 months. Again, realized it wasn't my calling because of my beliefs. And I got into Amazon in 2015. So I started my business, went live on Amazon July the 23rd, 2015, my first product. And I've been running that business ever since. It's still live now, still runs along, ticks along nicely.
So you're a man that knows about engineering, numbers, business management, financial advice, Amazon, and finally Amazon advertising. So if we want anyone to tell us about profitable Amazon ads, creating a profit first Amazon business, you're probably going to be able to tell us something we can take away.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, I want to refer back to, if I may, what happened with this guy's business when I was managing it, because that was to me was about profitability, what we're talking about today. I think it sort of lays a foundation for what we're talking about. And I said to him, look, you know, you've got any idea on your cost and stuff? He just didn't have a clue. So what I did was sat down with him and I went through the costs of the products. How much is he, you know, what purchase of the products, all his outgoings. So looking at, you know, his rent, his gas, electric, you know, rates and all those types of things. We put them all down, and then we put them down to a monthly cost, to a weekly cost, to a daily cost, and to an hourly cost. Then his labor, because he's got obviously a team of people working for him, his labor costs and what they were. And I also went out and did time and motion study. I went out with some of his teams and actually worked with them and looked at the jobs that they were doing, what they were actually working on, and how long it took them. And that allowed me then to process all those numbers down to a rate that he could use. Let's say, you know, if he was doing some groundwork per meter, how much he should charge, it would then come back to be profitable at the end. And over that period of 5 years, I mean, now he's a good friend now. He has 6 figures in the bank cash. 6 figures in the bank cash coming from nothing.
I'm sure
because
people
of
do with that.
Yeah, for some people it might be peanuts, but other people that, you know, that's quite a lot. And he always tells me every time I see him, you know, Phil, you know, I've got this amount of money sitting in the bank, you know.
And what we know about Amazon ads is a lot of people see them as a suck of their costs. They don't be making them profitable. Amazon ads aren't working for us is something we hear a lot. Our ACOS is too high. So let's jump in with maybe seems like an obvious question. Why should companies be advertising on Amazon anyway?
It's a great question. And I always look back to when I started in 2015, when advertising wasn't a thing. There wasn't really a great need to advertise. It wasn't. Amazon didn't do anything in terms of helping you with advertisement. And no one taught it. No one taught you how to actually do advertisement. It was just there. It was just a thing, an add-on, and you didn't need to do it to make your way. But obviously things have changed massively over those 7 years. And now if you're not doing advertisement, you're missing out tremendously, simply because adverts are everywhere. If you're not on page 1 for your product, if your product doesn't appear in the search engine results on page 1, you're missing out, because 70% of people buy on page 1, and the majority of that 70% buy at the top of the page. And if you've ever got...
We're talking about Amazon and not Google here. We probably know that about Google, but we might not know that about Amazon. 70% of people buy on the top of page 1 and don't even scroll down the screen. What are you going to do?
Absolutely right. The top. And Amazon clicked onto this earlier on, which is why there's so many adverts. And you'll see in the search engine results on Amazon, you'll see adverts. You'll see what's called a display ad. You'll see a sponsored brands advert, and then you'll see sponsored product advertisements. And sometimes there's layers of that. And also you'll get videos now. Videos are massively good. Amazon have now allowed us to put videos into sponsored brands, which are going to appear on the top of the page rather than halfway down. So, I mean, if you're not advertising.
So, but advertising isn't just about being on page 1, is it? I think a lot of people, when they look at advertising and digital marketing, they're thinking of Google. Google, we know they can put you on top of page 1. There's Google shopping, but it's kind of, it's not that complicated. Amazon is a bit different, isn't it? Why are we advertising on Amazon? Let's walk through what other things it can help us with.
Massively different. I mean, it's all about, you know, talking to the algorithm, and the algorithm. Advertising is about trying to gain rank with your product to get it onto page 1. As we said earlier, majority of the sales come from page 1, using keywords and getting sales momentum against each keyword. But you can also cross-sell, upsell, and protect. If you open up any of your listings, you will see lots of adverts on your listings. What you can do from a protection point of view is advertise against your own listing with other products that you have that are relative, obviously, to that, related to that product. So you can cross-sell or upsell or increase, the basket value. And then, of course, we can increase the average lifetime value by reaching more people. We can also steal from our competition. We can advertise on their listings. So when a customer clicks on their listing, They see your product, and if it's a better product, got better reviews, better price, they'll come to you and take your product rather than the competition.
It's not just about getting on the top of page one. It's actually
No.
more complicated than that. What we see a lot at Sell Beyond is that pay-per-click strategy is often set by someone in the business that doesn't have P&L responsibility. It's often delegated to an Amazon manager, an e-com manager, a national account manager. What does every financial director need to know about Amazon pay-per-click for their business? Because they're not going to be in the weeds running campaigns. They're not going to be in the weeds outsourcing to an agency. What does every financial director need to know?
That's a great question, Eloise. You know, working with you over the years, we've met a lot of people, and myself with my own coaching. And a lot of the time, the people that are running the business really don't understand Amazon, and they certainly don't understand Amazon advertisement. So for me, you know, getting that education and learning a little bit, you know, getting the basics and understanding of it will give you a foundation. Because if you're going to then pass on responsibility to, you know, an employee to run those ads, you need to direct them in exactly what you want them to do. So what strategies are you going to employ or ask them to do to, you know, promote your products? You know, if you're launching a new product, what's the strategy behind that? What's your intention? You know, if you're using product launch as an example, you're unlikely to make profit in the first 2 or 3 months simply because you're pushing that product to try and get it ranked to page one.
What can the problem be with the business where an Amazon manager is managing that? What typically are their targets against what a financial director might consider as a target?
Say that again, sorry, Eloise.
I'm just thinking if we're thinking of what does every financial director need to know,
Yep.
the types of goals that an Amazon manager or an account manager or a national sales manager might have is monthly revenue.
Yes.
Monthly revenue versus cost of ads. What's the problem with that?
Well, it's again the monthly revenue against the cost of ads. You're looking at you know, what is the goal? If you are just looking at the numbers, what's your profitability? Are we making money all the time? That's on Amazon isn't for Amazon advertising point of view, doesn't necessarily work, because the advertisement pushes the rank of the products organically onto page one. So that's where you're going to make your money. You invest into the advertisement to gain the push and the organic ranking to gain that profitability at that end. However, you need to obviously understand and gauge those costs to make sure, manage those, and that's the key really to it, is managing those costs and the outcome with regards to the advertisement as to what you're going to get at the other end.
So, okay, let's do. So learning point number one, Amazon ads are different to Google ads. Learning point number two, the organic ranking of your Amazon listing can be changed by the ads. On Google, ads are up there. You pay, you don't pay. They turn up, they don't turn up. But it doesn't really affect your SEO. On Amazon, your pay-per-click affects your SEO. Learning 100%. Number three, if we have commercial goals, they might not be the same as revenue and profitability on a monthly basis, particularly when it comes to pay-per-click. Okay, tell us more, Phil.
So yeah, understanding the basics. So, you know, learning all about that's great. So, you know, you want to increase sales, increase your ranking. You also want to reduce the competition. We mentioned that earlier on with regards to protecting your position, protecting your listings, but also we want to challenge the competition by actually advertising against them and against their brands so that your products turn up. When a customer types in that particular brand's looking for a brand, you can turn up and steal the competition. But also we're looking for new customers. We need to look for new customers. How are we going to do that? And we can get that again from stealing from the competition. And there's also brand awareness, making customers aware of your brand, using advertisement to push them back to your store, which is your own website on Amazon, where no one else can advertise, where you've got them, and you can cross-sell, upsell from that arena.
So from the finance, a lot of this sounds very tactical. So what does a finance director need to know? What type of knowledge do you think they need to get?
But they need to understand how the Amazon algorithm works initially. And you mentioned it earlier on with regards to ranking and keyword ranking, because most people don't understand that. They think an advert is an advert. It's not. On Amazon, it's completely different. You're talking to an algorithm. The algorithm makes a decision on whether your product appears or not in front of a customer. So we need to rank to get that algorithm to understand that we need to be put in front of a customer. So we're looking at profitability and the factors we need to take into account. Is that where we are now?
Absolutely. So just to wrap up on that one, every finance director needs some education, because you cannot delegate effectively to an Amazon manager, a national account manager, or an agency, or a consultancy, or a freelancer if you don't understand the goals. Now, we understand every finance director is going to want to be interested in making Amazon profitable. Do we know what the variables are around that? Walk us through it, Phil.
That's great, actually. I obviously mentioned earlier on about the learning and educating them and understanding, and keeping your finger on the pulse, because it changes rapidly. Adding on to what you said, there's a thing called retail ready, which most people are not aware of, that are selling on Amazon. Amazon introduced this about 18 months ago, and if you weren't plugged into the system and kept up to date with your learning on Amazon, you wouldn't know that was there. And that means Amazon are restricting your product's visibility if you're not retail ready. So type that into the Amazon console, and when it comes back, it'll tell you exactly what retail ready means. But effectively, you need a minimum of 15 reviews in order for them to actually look at you and say, we need to push you harder. So that's, again, all back to the education and learning and keeping your finger on the pulse. But back to the question, Eloise, how do we make Amazon advertising possible? It's all about looking at strategy initially, which strategy you're going to use, but also what's the cost of acquisition? What's it costing you to gain a sale? And generally, I look at how many clicks does it take to gain a sale through the advertisement. Then we look at the cost per click. How much on average is it costing you per click to get that sale? Obviously, do the multiplication.
Most people know about ACOS, because that's the thing that most people will know, is how much does it cost. Is it the same or is it different?
It's different. The cost per click is what you're paying on average for your advertisement, and when someone clicks on it, that's what you're paying. That's your cost per click. Your advertising cost of sale, or your ACOS, is how much it's costing you overall. So I use, as I say, clicks to order. So how many clicks is it taking to gain the order? What's the average cost per click? If it's 10 clicks and it's costing you £1, that's £10 that's cost you to gain that sale. So that's your cost of acquisition for that particular individual one sale. Now, that may sound expensive. If you've got an £8 product and it's costing you £1 to gain that sale, that doesn't work out very well. But going back to what we said earlier on, if you look at the organic, and we're looking at what's called TACOS, total advertising cost of sale, if we look at that, it may well be that we've actually created some huge ranking for that product, and they've doubled or tripled or quadrupled in sales because we're actually got that particular those sales at those higher price. So it's not necessarily focusing all the time on advertising cost of sale. It's more about the cost of acquisition overall, on the advertising, but overall. So are we gaining anything overall into organically?
So what we've got here is, we need to know how much it costs to get us a customer on Amazon. Now, you could be selling hot tubs, you could be selling coffee, you could be selling USB cables, fruitcakes. Each one of those, you will have a cost of acquisition through advertising, and you will have a lifetime value. If you're selling a hot tub, you might be selling accessories. If you're selling coffee, you probably want to get them to buy every month. That will then inform that initial cost of acquisition. Now, as an FD, as someone involved in financing the profit and loss, you can probably see that. Oftentimes what happens is the only number people go on is how much it costs to get the sale, not how many sales you'd have in the year, not how many accessories people might buy as a result of it, or not actually that will propel us onto page one and we will get a higher volume. And those factors, somebody who has a P&L responsibility needs to be able to think out, not just on the monthly revenue terms, but potentially on a yearly term, Phil.
Yeah, and going back to what we said earlier on, the lifetime value, if you've got a consumable product or a product that's and again and again, you've got to factor that into that. It may well be costing you more initially on the advertisement to gain some ground, gain that sales momentum. But what's the lifetime value? Have you got to subscribe and save on your listing? Can people subscribe to it on a regular basis? I'll get at least 20% every month of sales come through without me actually having to spend any more money or do anything, and that's lifetime value.
Can we talk about some businesses that we've worked with without giving specifics of how people try and understand how to make profit? What are some errors that we see, or some things where typical errors that people might make in understanding their profitability?
Yeah, so again, we're going back to people focusing on the wrong things. So are we, what are you focusing on? Are you focusing on just, are we making a profit? Are you focusing on, oh, the ACOS is too high, the advertising cost of sale is too high, we specifically want it at this level, and that's it, we're not going to budge from that level, because that's not realistic. We want to push that ACOS up and down dependent on the strategy that we're using to gain ground gain sales momentum at the other end. And there's also, TACOS, the total advertising cost of sale targets that people use. Sometimes you need to be flexible on those, dependent on what you're trying to achieve. What are the strategies that you're employing? If you're launching brand new products, for example, you're going to have to expand those.
So this is a key point of the education piece. Often people come to us and say, we want to reduce the cost of advertising, but we also want new customers. Now, is that possible, Phil?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, advertising is always going to gain new customers. If you've looked at if you're using Amazon advertising, you've got a console there, and on there it's got data that'll tell you how many new customers that you're getting, dependent on obviously the whether you're using advertising, sponsored brands, sponsored products, etc. It'll give you that data. You can download it in a report. So yeah. Growing your business there is fairly easy to do, but you need to advertise in the first place to get it out there. But again, we can also steal from our competition. We can put our products out against our, we've mentioned it earlier on, other brands against their listings, and we can reduce, we can cut, get those customers. But also when looking at reducing advertising costs, once we've had that initial investment and we've got sales momentum, and we're organically appearing for lots of keywords on page one, we can focus advertisement on different areas of Amazon, which are a lot cheaper to actually run those advertisements, because they're not on page one. If you're trying to get to page one for your adverts, that's what the big bang for the big buck. It's going to cost you a lot of money. But if you focus on other areas and other, targeting other brands, it's a lot less. So we can cut the advertisement down and focus in on what's actually really important once we've established, that sales momentum.
From a CEO or finance perspective, if we know the parameters, how much money we need to make over the year, what our profitability is over the year, we can then delegate these more tactical measures, because we will know which parameters we want to work in. But if we don't have that education piece and aren't really clear what we're briefing people on, it can be a bit of a mess. Now, many companies see Amazon pay-per-click advertising as something to outsource. Is that advisable? What should we be thinking about?
You should be thinking about, where are you sitting in the the mix? Do you have the understanding? Do you understand all the KPIs, all the little, as we went through the cost per clicks and and so on and so forth? Do you have the skills to actually learn that? And what are you specifically good at? Are you willing to learn new skills? We said earlier on, getting out there and looking at the learning console or looking at the Seller University videos. Are you willing to actually do that to get an understanding of it and then put that into practice and do it yourself? So education really is the key from my perspective on that. I use an acronym called TIME, TIME. So T stands for time, obviously. So you've got to put some time into it. I stands for input or effort, etc. So you actually got to put, you actually got to physically do something. And then M is the worst one. That's the money. That's the one we try to avoid. We try to make money, but you've got to invest, obviously, to do that. And the foundation, the one at the bottom, is E. It's education. Most people will do the T, the I, and the M, and they'll throw the E out the door and wonder why then the business never grows. And going back to when we started, this guy who was managing his business, he was at this level here and his business was here, and he was kept on trying to push his business up. It went up, but it always come back down. It comes back down to the level that you are at. And unless you push yourself up here, doesn't matter how hard you push that, it's always going to come back to the level that you're at. So education to me is the key. It's the foundation to your business growth, regardless of whether it's Amazon advertisement, Amazon or any type of business.
That's a really great point, Phil. And I think that's something to remember. You don't have to be, as the business owner or the FD or the commercial manager, you don't have to be running the Amazon ads. You need to know what you're good at. You need to have enough education to be able to delegate it effectively. So as Phil has said, without that education, it doesn't matter whether you outsource, you do it yourself, or one of your team managers do it. You probably won't do the best job that you could for your business. So on that note, it might be useful for some of you who are watching to know that in the new year, from February 1st, we're going to be running 2 different sessions. Phil and I will be running Amazon coaching sessions for those who would like to have a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 help with me and Phil about improving your knowledge of pay-per-click, improving your Amazon manager's knowledge, and improving the way that you manage pay-per-click in your company. And we'll be offering also group coaching for improving your Amazon profitability from February 1st as well. So PM me if you'd like some details of how to get involved in that, because without the education, the knowledge, the sharing, technical things like ACOS, TACOS, cost of acquisition, lifetime value, new to brand, are somewhat irrelevant if we don't know what we're doing it and where the company's going. So on a final note, Phil, that's what would you like to conclude? What should everybody know about pay-per-click? That what's your learning point, having run your own Amazon business for 7 years, been working with us for about 3?
The learning point that I've learned big time is you need to invest into the advertisement, obviously with the knowing and the education behind, because you don't want to do it wrong to gain anything from it. The more you spend on it, the bigger gains you're going to get. And I learned that massively too late in my business to make it effective. It was 2 or 3 years in before I actually realized that the more I spent on advertisement productively would grow my business. But so
it really is an investment if we look at it right now. We don't like spending money on Amazon ads more than anybody else, but we have to understand it's not just a cost center, and it's not something we simply measure on monthly revenue, because those aren't necessarily the right KPIs for a business to grow. And that's where someone with P&L responsibility might benefit from further education on this matter. If anyone else has got any questions, please ping them in the chat, and we will endeavour to answer them afterwards. Phil and I are here all afternoon, and we'll ping you on LinkedIn and answer the group questions. Otherwise, we'd like to say thank you very much for joining Sell Beyond's Profitable Amazon Ads. Do you have a profit first Amazon business? Have a lovely afternoon. PM me if you'd like to get involved in some more activity with us. And thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.